Good morning and welcome to this morning's webinar. We're going to be looking at 6 reasons why your business will recover in its current situation. Now, the reasons we're going to discover or talk about are not just limited to our current situation with the coronavirus, but apply in general to businesses every day. So every day, these are things that you should be doing, but they're even more important in the current situation, with the coronavirus having such an impact on businesses everywhere, worldwide, changing the way we do things and changing what our business is able to deliver on a day-to-day basis and how we interact with people. Fundamentally, some of the things we're going to talk about don't change whether we're in our full business environment or whether we're in a restricted environment like we are at the moment. So before we kick off, this is information of a general nature only. Please don't use this as a substitute for professional advice. You should get specific advice from an appropriately qualified person relevant to your situation in order to decide what you should be doing. But this general information will be very helpful to you. So we're looking today at 6 tips. 6 tips to make your business a success story, and what are the critical things you need to be doing to plan for recovery from the COVID-19 crisis. Now, these 6 things that we're going to talk about really apply to businesses in any situation, but they're particularly important at this time. So we're going to have a look at those, but many of the principles we're going to talk about are very much general business principles that you should be applying in your business every day. The COVID-19 crisis is a catalyst for how you rethink your business and look at it. Now, with the new rules for business, new rules for living at the moment that we are enduring, and hopefully we will come out of it much stronger as a result. So these things we're going to deal with or look at in more depth are very much general business principles that you should be doing day to day in your business. So we're going to start off, and those 6 things we're going to cover are to do with managing cash flow, how we communicate in our business, getting to know your numbers intimately, why you need to plan, how key implementation is in planning, and why you need to monitor the results and effectiveness of your actions. We're going to kick off by looking at one of the most important things, cash flow. So cash flow is key. It's critical at this time, critical for businesses in all situations. So when we talk about cash flow, we are talking about what cash is actually available to your business. We're not talking about the promises of receiving money from your customers. So cash flow, we're looking at what is the actual cash being received and paid out on a day-to-day basis by your business. So often when we make a sale, if you're selling on credit terms, you won't get the cash receipt until your customer pays you, hopefully in line with your payment terms, with that 7 days or 30 days if you're offering those generous terms. If you're a pay-as-you-go or tap-and-go style business, your cash flow from customers will be when you make the sale, which is an ideal situation. But for many businesses offering business to business, particularly supply of physical product, there is often payment terms provided. Likewise with your suppliers, when they make a supply to you, they will often give you terms of 7, 14, maybe 28 days to pay. So we're looking at the actual physical timing of those differences of those cash payments. Now, the other way that we can improve the cash flow of our business is by injecting funds, and that could come from financing, borrowing from banks, financing asset purchases like motor vehicle finance or equipment finance. It could be a loan from the owner of the business. On the flip side is where we take money out of the business that's not related to an expense. So that's a loan from the business, or it might be a dividend, paying the profits from previous periods to you as the owner of the business. So cash flow can be not just related to sales and purchases, but could also be related to your financing activities. It's very important to know where your cash flow is at any time, knowing exactly what you have in the bank, and also what your projections are. What's your cash likely to be? So if we know that we're going to get paid in 30 days by a customer, we can plan for what cash will be available in 30 days. So very important to plan how much cash is coming in, how much cash is going out, and what our needs are. So if we do have a shortfall, we can organise finance in advance. It's a lot easier to organise it in advance than when the need actually arises. So at the situation we have at the moment, there are a few things to be very careful of in your business. So we have often there are incentives available. We're offering delayed payment terms. Now, we're seeing a few more of these, but you do need to be aware of them, because you can fall into the trap of paying for product or committing to purchase product that you don't actually need. And we do see that happen a lot, particularly with bulk terms, that you get a discount for buying in bulk. The difference is if you're not able to sell that product quickly, then you're using your cash to buy an asset, which is you're depleting your cash reserves at a time that you should be trying to strengthen your cash flow, so build it up. So how do you manage your cash flow from a sales perspective? So it also depends on where your customers are. So if your customers are in an overseas market at the moment, that's very hard to deliver to unless you're in the IT space and everything is purely electronic. But if you're supplying a physical product or a service, then that may be hard to do. So you need to look at adjusting your market to a more local one, and maybe even changing the demographic of your customer from maybe just from one location to broadening it to statewide or even countrywide. So having a look at your customer strategy, and that's another part of what we do. So cost reduction comes up as a big thing. One of the traps we see for a lot of businesses, particularly with this, the evolution of IT and software as a service, is that we have many subscriptions to software tools, all interconnecting with a cloud environment. Most of them on a monthly subscription, some on an annual, and those subscriptions just roll over from month to month. And over time, we tend to accumulate subscriptions to products that we're not using in our business that have been superseded. Yet those monthly subscriptions just keep rolling over and over and over. And if you have a critical look at them, you'll probably find a couple of $100 a month that you don't need to be spending because you no longer use that tool, or it's been superseded, or you've changed the way you've done your business. So that could be something that you could look to reduce. Also looking at what are you actually spending money on? Is it actually something that's going to produce value for you? Is it going to lead to a sale and create revenue? If it's not, then that is something that you should be eliminating from your spending, and not just now, but thinking about this when you're running a business in general, is that if you're spending money, outlaying your cash on things that are not going to produce income, that's not a wise choice of how you spend your resources. So we need to look at how we actually allocate our resources, where we're spending our money. Are we getting an effective return on it? Managing your debts as well as the finance side of it. So at the moment, it is critical that you talk to your finance companies, your banks, your landlords about whether there is a possibility of any deferred payments. Certainly with the stimulus package, there is the option to get a deferment of loan repayments under existing loans. Landlords may be approachable to reduce rents temporarily, or to vary leases, and there's some government assistance for landlords that do this as well, in terms of them being able to defer or have reduced loan payments and incentives. So there are ways to manage your cash flow proactively. particularly in this environment, but at all times, you do need to keep on top of your cash flow. It is critical. Without cash, the business won't survive. So it's very critical that we always monitor our cash flow, particularly looking at what are we looking to spend in the future and what's our revenue going to be. So very important to monitor cash flow at all times. Communication is critical as well, now more than ever, with everybody working in remote environments, working from home, less face-to-face communication, less personal contact. It is important to increase the amount of communication at this time to keep people informed. When you've got people working from home, it's very easy for them to disappear in that, because you can't see what's going on, or they can't see you. Those little infrequent and random bits of communication and knowledge sharing aren't happening. You need to create a more structured environment. So we have communication as a key. Looking at key people that you need to be communicating with. Well, the first one is your customers through your marketing strategy. And that is a big thing. You need to keep telling your customers that you're open for business, how you can help them in this time, how you can still supply them, and why they still need to be buying from you at this point in time. Communication is key, and marketing to your customers is very important. Utilize the social media channels, utilize your marketing spend, but think carefully about what's the message you want to be conveying to your customers. Suppliers, and we'll talk a bit more about supply as well, but insurers, employees, ATO government, your accountant, your lawyers, and of course your banks, which seems to have dropped off that slide there. So suppliers are a key to delivering your product. So in some cases, we don't have a lot of input with our suppliers because they're often we use a lot of software now, but where you have a critical physical supply of product, it's important to talk to your suppliers and also look at what are the alternatives. So if your product is being manufactured overseas at the moment, is there an Australian producer that can supply a similar or even better product that you may be able to access? And by changing your supplier, you may be able to create a better product, maybe even have a more robust business going forward, offering a wider choice of product, and maybe even the quality would be improved as well. So talk to your suppliers and find out what is going on with supply chain. So if the factories are closed overseas, when are they likely to reopen? Is there any estimate of time? You do need to talk to the suppliers and find out what is going on with your estimated recovery for your supply product. We do need to know what are the contingency plans that you need to put in place for if you're not able to get a return to normal supply levels. And we also need to be careful, and here is where you need to talk to your lawyers as well, is if you've got an obligation to supply under a contract and you are unable to do that because your suppliers can't supply to you, what are your obligations and how does that impact you? So you do need to talk to your suppliers. Does something like the coronavirus actually have is that an escape clause from your supply obligations, or are you not covered by it? But you do need to talk to your lawyers about those aspects of your supply contracts and your sales contracts. Your workforce is very important to keep in contact with them, particularly if they're working from home and they are remote. You do need to keep in touch with them. Have regular points of contact, regular communication to keep an eye on. Also, keep an eye on what they're doing, which seems a bit draconian, but to keep those regular check-ins. Are they on track? Are they doing the work that they're supposed to do? But also, how are they going? Are they on top of things? Where are they at the moment in terms of their mental health do they have the resources to be able to do what they do? Do they need to work different hours because of the situations of managing from home? How do they best utilise the resources you have available to them? So, things like communication. How do they get the information they need? Where is it stored? Is it secure? What are their working conditions? Is it safe for them to be working from home? So communicating with your employees constantly is important. You need to let them know what's going on there. So finance companies as well. So if you're unable to make your finance payments at the moment, you do need to talk to them up front, let them know at the moment there is a lot of deferral of commitments being utilised and available to you. But the key here is to talk to people. Don't just assume it's going to happen. Be on the front foot and talk to them. Go to their websites, find out what is happening, what they're offering you at the moment. What is your online strategy? We talked about your employees as well and your customers, but do you have everything in place to be able to supply to your customers? Do your employees have everything they need in place to be able to work from home effectively? And are they trained in the tools? Are they trained in the tools so that they're reducing cyber risk, which is still present? And how do your customers and suppliers interact with you? Are they aware of what they need to be doing? Are they aware of the options for how they communicate with you? What's the best way of a customer communicating with you? Talk to the ATO. At the moment, there are provisions in place to vary pay-as-you-go instalments, provisions will be in to defer payments of tax, and also how you access the stimulus package. So it's very important to talk to the ATO if there is an issue. There's no blanket application of the concession, so you do need to apply individually, so you do need to talk to them. Also talk to your insurers, your insurance broker. Are there any potential claims that may be available for compensation? Business interruption insurance may be something that you have in place. And if that's the case, talk to your broker about whether this situation is covered as a claimable event for you. So where are you at the moment? It's important. And this is a step we do with every business, or we recommend for every business, is where are you at the moment? What does your business look like? Now, it's highly likely that your business at the moment is in a state of a state of disarray, state of confusion, and is not the kind of business that you want ideally at the moment. But regardless of the current situation, if we were to ask most business owners, that would also be the case, that the business they have now is not the kind of business they want. So where are you at now? What is wrong with your business that you could fix? What are some of the underlying things that need to be addressed in your business? And now is an ideal time to do it. You have this catalyst for change. Now is the ideal time to do those things, to assess your business. So in doing that, what is your business position? What are your numbers telling you? What are your customers? How long have they been with you? Are they the right kind of customers? Are you making profits from those customers? Do you have product lines that are non-profitable? What are your star products? Do you know what is going on in your business? This is the time to get very intimate with your numbers. Get your numbers, grab your reports from your financial system, grab your numbers, have a look at them, get assistance from your accountant to understand what is really going on in your business. So what do your numbers tell you? What have they been telling you over the past period? And what do they tell you about your future? So this is a time to get to know. Your numbers are basically the indicators of how well your business is tracking. Now, it's not just the numbers of profit and cash flow that tell you what's going on. We have other numbers in your business which can tell you the story about how your business has been performing, such as sales growth and how fast you get paid by your customers, how quickly you turn over your inventory. But we also need to look at those forward-looking numbers, such as your how much revenue is in your sales funnel, how much revenue are you likely to receive in the next period, what is your success rate at converting inquiries into new sales? How do you how do you measure those things at the moment? How effective is your marketing? So looking at all of your business numbers, not just your historical ones. Once you've done that, you need to plan about what should you be doing right now, what resources do you need, but what do you plan to do for the future? What does your business need to change now to be a stronger, more stable business that's more robust, is more resilient, that is going to persevere and continue through the future? So planning, though, is not going to be enough. So when we look at planning, we're looking at specific goals, specific actions, specific timeframes. It's not just enough to have a general goal. So unless you actually allocate actions to your plan, you may as well not have a plan. It's non-existent. So you need specifics in your plans. You need to have the details about who's going to do what they're going to need to do it, when they're going to do it by, what's the outcome you're expecting. So without an action plan, it's like trying to build a house without having a design, or even the materials to build it with. So we can't do that. The next stage of that analogy is that we have the plans for the house, we have the materials, but we never actually get around to doing it. And that's where implementation comes in. So planning is not enough. We actually need to implement. So we need to plan where we're heading and how we're going to get there. Ships, captains, maybe that's not a good choice of illustration at the moment, but if you're looking to go somewhere in a car or on a journey, you do plan which way you're going to go. So implementation, this is critical. We need to actually get things in place. We need to make things happen. So a lot of plans don't actually get achieved, like the house never gets built because the plan is not implemented. And I think the statistics are showing that only 10% of plans actually get implemented, particularly in a business situation. So it's very easy to talk about our plans, very easy to say what we want to get done, but the hardest thing is to actually do it. And a lot of times we do it because we say we're too busy, we've got other things to do. And so those important plans never happen. And at the moment, the temptation is to make a plan but not to do anything. It's working from home is a distracted environment. And for many, the temptation is to do other things. This is the time to actually work on your business and implement. As Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about sharpening the saw, that you need to actually spend time planning and so that the implementation goes better. You need to work on the skills that you need to do this. So this is an ideal time to be doing that. Once we've got our plan in place, we need to look at how are we doing? How effective is it? Is the action that you've put in place, the steps you've taken, are they actually delivering on what you are doing? So you need to monitor how well are you going in terms of your business plan, but how well are your employees implementing? How are they doing? Are they on track? Are they on the same team? Are they all working together? Does everybody understand their role? What are the results telling you? Are people following the guidebook, following the team plan? What are the results showing you? And this is not just for now, but moving forward, how effective is the result from your action plan? Is it achieving the results that you want? What else do you need to change? By monitoring the outcomes, you can decide whether you need to make changes, whether you can continue to do that? Is it being successful? If it's not being successful, then you need to change what you're doing. Are there new rules that have come into place, changes that affect what you're doing? So we need to look at that. Also, monitoring, good thing, how well are you doing at the moment? If you do need help, then we encourage you to reach out through Lifeline, Beyond Blue, take advantage of those resources. The other thing we're looking at here is improving your marketing strategy. You need to be effective. So now's a good time to, talk to your community customers, find out what they want, find out what else they need at this point. What else can you sell to them? Are there new products, and how are you going to convince them to buy from you? So there may be new products or services that you can introduce. Very few companies can survive without changing and introducing new products over time. The only one I can think of is WD-40. They have a very durable product. They've been around. The other companies that refuse to change, many of them are no longer in existence. So particularly evident at the moment, our needs have changed, technology changes, and our demands have changed. So here's what are you doing to meet these changing needs? How can you meet the changing needs of your customers and your business right now? Now, one thing we always talk about is celebrating success. It's key to know what has gone well in your business. What are the joy points? What has gone really well that you need to celebrate? And often we forget to celebrate, particularly in times like this. We forget to celebrate success, and that's really important to keeping momentum and keeping people engaged. So I encourage you to make a note of what went well and celebrate success, and find new ways to do that. So how else can we help? One of the things we talked about is helping develop an action plan. Create a plan, but create an action plan where you actually implement and get to know what your cash flow is. So we do that as 2 steps. We create the action plan, and we also create a 3-way cash flow forecast to help you identify the outcomes of that. If you want more information on ways to improve your cash flow, we've provided this guide on some ways to start improving cash flow. And that can be downloaded from our website, so I encourage you to look at that. And the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman also produced some resources, including the Business Funding Guide, which is available to be downloaded. So keep in touch with us. There'll be regular updates on our social media and website throughout this period and after that. So keep in touch. Reach out to us through any of those channels and find out how we can help you specifically.